Good evening, Americans. It's Mark Bradley, and you found the Mark Bradley Show. It's Tuesday night. I'm broadcasting to you right here from my home where I always do, and we'll post the show about 8 o'clock every Monday through Thursday night. You can find updates on my Facebook page or on Twitter.com. You can search YouTube for Mark Bradley Show, MarkBradley Show. Just put that in the search bar on YouTube. You'll find all of our shows. They're all archived there. You can watch any of them. Tonight's top story comes out of Iran. More election unrest and protests. We're going to talk a little bit about Sarah Palin and David Letterman and their feud, which may be finally settling down. I want to hear back from you. Send me an email, markbradleyshow@gmail.com. Tell me what you believe and why you believe it, where you're coming from on an issue. And tell me if you think I'm wrong. Tell me if you think I got it right. Let me know. I want to hear from you. markbradleyshow@gmail.com. From Iran, the big news today all over the radio and newspapers and TV was that Iran has banned journalists from covering the protests. We'll see how well that goes. Information has already gotten out onto the internet. There's videos on YouTube, and you can find them at other video sites that people have posted. Also, journalists are supposedly using sites like Twitter and Facebook to get information about these protests and to get video and pictures from them through those sites. Iran has blocked those, so you cannot access Twitter, Facebook from inside Iran. We'll see how well that works as well. I want to set the stage for what I believe is going on in Iran right now and why I think this might be a pivotal point in Mideast history and in Mideast politics. What could be happening? It starts with this election. The Guardian Council, which is the religious leaders of Iran, led by Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, is still investigating vote fraud allegations brought by Mahmoud Ahmadinejad's primary opponent, Mousavi. Right now, what I believe is happening in Iran, you have the reason that I believe Ayatollah Khamenei ordered the council to investigate was simply because of the unrest in Tehran, all the protests. You should see the videos. Look up Iran elections or Iran election protests on YouTube. Look at the videos of how many people. They're claiming over 100,000 people in a day filled the streets, and it was like 5 miles long. It's amazing the people that turned out for this in support of the opposition candidate Mousavi against Mahmoud Ahmadinejad's regime. Simply to kind of quell the unrest, they said, okay, we're going to investigate this. We're going to look into allegations of vote fraud. Will anything come of it? I don't know. But I know that they can't afford a Tiananmen Square-like catastrophe. They know that the world is watching them now, and how they respond is going to be how they are treated going forward. Everyone in Europe is watching, everyone in the Arab world is watching, everyone in other Western nations like America is watching. They want to see how the leadership in Iran responds to these protests. If people start dying, Iran is going to face much stricter, wait for it, economic sanctions. No doubt about it. Look to the UN, see what they do if something like that happens. Now, is that going to bother Mahmoud Ahmadinejad? No, not hardly. What he's afraid of is that if the human rights violations become reported enough, or, I mean, look at the women already, but if this becomes a major issue and countries build up enough anger about this, they're afraid they could end up like Iraq. Because if you remember, Iraq was not a unilateral decision. Iraq was a United Nations decision. They said they are non-compliant with inspections, they're non-compliant with the treaties, they're not compliant with the inspectors. So the United Nations, as well as the U.S. House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate, decided that Saddam had his time. He was over. And so they decided to remove him. That's why we went to war. There was no war for oil. The weapons of mass destruction They were trying. Maybe they didn't have them. They sure were trying. Either way, we did the right thing when we went to Iraq and liberated the people, and we're building, hopefully, a very safe and free democracy for the people. Now, it's going to be hard, and if you listen to the generals over there, they can tell you about great progress, and they can tell you that there's still work to be done, but it's moving along. Now, Iran. Does anyone actually think that we're going to war in Iran? No. None of the pundits, very few, well, none of the military strategists that I've heard of have recommended that as an option. But Ahmadinejad knows that if he goes military and militarizes the country or issues something kind of like martial law, that the world will not stand for it, and that first, I'm sure they'll come out with strict economic sanctions, and later he may face military or even trade embargoes and things like that. It's a developing story. It remains to be seen. This is far from over, folks, so keep your eye on that one. Sarah Palin and David Letterman, late night talk show host, got into that big feud about his two of his jokes, which I saw, and when I watched them, heard what he had to say, watched how he delivered them, I chuckled. I found the jokes to be completely inappropriate. However, they were slightly funny. But, point being here, two things happened. Number one, David Letterman's joke writers got their facts wrong. They messed up on their facts. Okay? They thought that Palin was in New York with her 18-year-old daughter, Bristol, when in fact she was in New York with her 14-year-old daughter, Willow. Okay, they screwed that up. And what happened is the sexual reference jokes that Letterman made, although terribly inappropriate, were, I guess, in that genre somewhat acceptable because he was intending to refer to a person who was of age. Some people have said that, oh, he's promoting rape and things like that, and statutory rape, and I just don't think that's the case. I don't see it here. You look at the joke, when he delivers his joke, he almost looks nervous about saying them out loud, but the jokes were not on Sarah Palin's daughter. They were on two famous New Yorkers, Alex Rodriguez and Governor Eliot Spitzer. This story should have been put to rest a long time ago. Sarah Palin needed to come out and come back with something a little more humorous and less condemning. I mean, she's not gaining any ground by making a big deal out of the jokes and the fact that they got their facts wrong, that they were wrong. Hopefully this goes away very soon, and hopefully Sarah Palin can continue to be more associated with real issues of governing than with family and those other feud issues. Hopefully. Now, to begin the segment that I'm going to call What I Believe. And for start off, I have to go with the very most important thing that I believe shapes all of our life and our political views, and that is, I believe in the beginning God created heaven and earth. I believe it because that's what the Bible says, and I believe that that's the only way that we could be here today, and that's the only thing that holds the universe together is God's hand. And that will shape my political views, and how you view God or not will shape your political views as well. And thanks for listening. Hey, we'll be back tomorrow night. I'm going to get to that corruption in politics, and also, does that relate to ABC giving the White House? Listen to this. ABC's giving the White House airtime during their nightly news to promote President Obama's health care plan. They're giving it to the White House to control. We'll talk about that tomorrow night. Listen, you can check for updates, Facebook.com, Twitter.com. You know where to find me. It's The Mark Bradley Show on YouTube every Monday through Thursday night, 8 p.m. Pacific.